Joe Rogan had the wildest realization when he started digging into the Epstein situation. At first, he figured Epstein might not have been the true mastermind, more like a middleman, a front. And things got even stranger when Rogan found out his own name was in the Epstein files. But here's the twist. He wasn't listed because he went anywhere. He was in the files because he refused to go. Stick around to the end to hear what Rogan says he saw in those files, and why it made him think this story might be way bigger than anyone expected.
I'm in the files for not going.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm in the files for not going, because Jeffrey Epstein was trying to meet with me.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, and I was like, what?
You're like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad?
Yeah, but I would have never went anyway. It's like, it's not even a possibility that I would have went.
But
especially after I Googled him. I was like, what the are you talking about? This was like 2017. One of my guests was trying to get me to meet him. I was like, are you high? Like, what the are you talking about?
There were names that didn't show up, mentions that were allegedly scrubbed, powerful figures hovering in the background, people with protection, influence, the kind of clout that makes paperwork disappear. And when Rogan connected those dots, his reaction wasn't loud, it wasn't theatrical. It was the kind of realization that makes your stomach drop a little. So stay with me, because by the time we break down what he saw and what it could mean, you'll understand why this whole thing stopped being just another headline and started feeling like something way bigger. Rogan's name in the files.
To my right is an email that was sent by the victim's lawyers to the DOJ. It was a list of names not to redact. A list of names not to release. What did the DOJ do with this email? They released this email in the document production. Literally the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did. And they're getting phone calls. A lot of these people didn't want to be known. And we know you touched the document because you redacted one name and you redacted the lawyer's name, but you left the survivor's name there.
Now, quick backstory, because you can't understand the outrage today without knowing how we got here. Jeffrey Epstein wasn't just some random wealthy guy. He was a financier with a private island in the Caribbean, a Manhattan mansion, a private jet that later earned the nickname Lolita Express. And most importantly, he had connections. Big ones. Presidents, billionaires, royalty. The kind of guest list that doesn't happen by accident. In 2008, he was convicted of soliciting a minor for prostitution. And this is where public anger really ignited. Instead of decades behind bars, he received what many described as a sweetheart deal. Just 13 months in a low-security facility, with work release privileges. Prosecutors later admitted it was one of the most lenient plea deals they'd ever seen. Then 2019 hits. Epstein is arrested again, this time on federal trafficking charges involving dozens of victims. But before the case could go to trial, he was found dead in his jail cell. Official ruling? To this day, a lot of people don't buy it. Now fast forward. For years, victims and investigators kept pushing. Release everything. No more sealed documents. No more redactions. Show the public the full picture. In early 2026, over 3 million documents were finally released. Sounds huge, right? Except, massive portions were still blacked out. Names hidden. Pages scrubbed. And that's where this story takes a turn. Because this is where Joe Rogan enters the conversation in a much bigger way. Rogan isn't just some random voice online. He's one of the most influential podcasters on the planet. He's interviewed tech moguls, politicians, actors. He moves in powerful circles. So when someone like him reads through those files and reacts like this, it hits differently.
This is the one that I hate the most.
Yeah.
Because this one scares the shit out of me. Because the fear of, we talked about this yesterday with Roger Avery. The fear of these like literally demonic human beings that are running the world and don't give a fuck about human lives and enjoy watching people being tortured, enjoy watching people killed, participating in ritual sacrifice of people, and they do it in order to show that you're a part of a team and we know that has always historically been a real thing. And it's been something that you look at in history, you go, God, it's so sick. It's so twisted. It's so disgusting. And everybody wants to think, thank God that's not happening now. But then when you realize, like, that might have been happening now.
Why Rogan's reaction matters. When someone with that level of access says, This scares the crap out of me. You don't just shrug and keep scrolling. You pause. You lean in. You ask yourself, what did he see? This whole thing really blew up on February 11th, 2026. Joe Rogan was recording an episode with Cheryl Hines, who's married to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., another name that appears in the Epstein files. And right in the middle of the conversation, Rogan casually drops, "I'm in the files." Cue internet meltdown. But he immediately followed it up with, "I'm in the files for not going." That's a massive difference. Back in 2017, physicist Lawrence Krauss, a past guest on Rogan's show, reached out. Epstein wanted an introduction, supposedly something like, "I think he's funny. Can you set up a meeting?" Rogan's reaction? Simple. He Googled Jeffrey Epstein, saw the 2008 conviction, and shut it down immediately. No curiosity. No, let's feel it out. Just no. That gut instinct probably saved him from being anywhere near something much darker. But here's where the tone shifts. After digging through millions of pages, Rogan started hinting at something bigger, that Epstein might not have been the top guy at all. More like a middleman, a connector, the visible face in a structure that stretched higher. The redaction controversy. Officials claimed redactions were to protect victims. Fair enough, on the surface. Except members of Congress were allowed to view unredacted versions. And that's when things got interesting. Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna, opposite parties, teamed up to push for more transparency. When bipartisan lawmakers start asking the same question, that's not random noise. Massie didn't hold back. He said, "This is bigger than Watergate. That's not clickbait language. That's system-level concern." On the House floor, Khanna read out 6 names that had been blacked out publicly. Salvatore Nuara, Zurab Mikoladze, Leon Leonov, Nicola Caputo, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, and Les Wexner. Here's the strange part. The explanation was that the redactions were accidental. But Les Wexner's name appears more than 4,000 times elsewhere in the files, completely visible. No blackout, no mistake. Except in one specific place, the document referencing co-conspirators. That's the only spot where his name was hidden. That doesn't feel random. And Rogan reacted the way most people would. How come you redact some people and you don't redact other people? Like, what is this? This is not good. It's a fair question. Either protect names consistently or don't. But selective redactions? That raises eyebrows. The Les Wexner connection. Wexner, the billionaire founder of Victoria's Secret, wasn't just loosely connected to Epstein. He gave him power of attorney over his finances. He handed over a $77 million Manhattan mansion, the same property later tied to investigations. That's not casual association. That's deep trust. Wexner has said he was misled and cut ties in 2007. But the documents show years of closeness and financial overlap. That's why people keep circling back to the same thought. If Epstein wasn't at the top, who was? Because at this point, this isn't just about who visited an island. It's about who might have been above it. The Dubai billionaire exposed. Let's talk about the next name that keeps surfacing. And this is where things stop feeling local and start feeling global. Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem isn't just some wealthy executive. He's a Dubai billionaire and the former chairman of DP World, one of the largest port operators on Earth. We're talking shipping hubs across more than 70 countries, international trade routes, government contracts, royal connections inside Dubai. This is geopolitical level influence. Now here's what showed up inside the Epstein documents. In a 2009 email, Jeffrey Epstein wrote directly to bin Sulayem, and the line, I'm not paraphrasing, reads, "I loved the video." Read that again. I love the video. Bin Sulayem's response? Calm, routine, almost mundane. I am in China. I'll be in the US second week of May. Like they're discussing flight schedules. No shock, no confusion, no, what are you talking about? Just business as usual. And here's the number that makes this even heavier. His name appears in the files over 5,000 times. 5,000. Emails referencing explicit material. Years of communication back and forth. But when the files were released publicly, his name was blacked out. Why? Because unmasking someone at that level doesn't just embarrass an individual. It potentially rattles trade agreements, port access, diplomatic relationships, international leverage, the kind of stuff governments guard carefully. Eventually, when his name was unredacted and that email became public, Bin Sulayem resigned from DP World. But he hasn't been charged with any crime. That's what above the law looks like in real time. And when Joe Rogan read through this, his reaction wasn't polished. It wasn't filtered.
For what reason would you? What would be...
If I was a guy who was like sucking up to the rich and powerful, if I was really interested in hanging out with rich and powerful people.
You know, it's crazy. That's so crazy. But yeah, some people...
Some people get intoxicated by being in a circle of rich and powerful people, even if they're not, like, they don't even have any ambitions of being one of those people. They just want to be around them. They want to be around Nobel Prize winners. And because this guy what he was doing was very clever in that he was getting all of these very powerful and very respected people together.
Yeah.
And you would figure like, oh, it's
if that
safe.
Guy's there, if that lady's
Clinton's
there.
here. This is fine.
Right.
Clinton's here. How could this be bad?
Yeah.
Hollywood's power problem. That line hits hard. Some people get intoxicated by proximity to power, because that theme doesn't stop with billionaires and port moguls. It spills into Hollywood too. Now let's clear something up immediately. Oprah Winfrey does not appear in the Epstein files in any meaningful way. The viral clips claiming she visited his island 11 times? Completely false. Multiple fact-checkers debunked that narrative. So if you've seen that floating around, that part isn't real. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. Oprah had a decades-long friendship with Harvey Weinstein. Not a quick red carpet photo. Not a one-time interview. They were close. During a lawsuit, actress Katie and Noble testified that Weinstein leveraged Oprah's presence, her reputation, her trustworthiness, to make victims feel safe before allegedly assaulting them. Noble claimed Weinstein used Oprah's credibility as social proof. That's disturbing. Oprah also attended parties hosted by Sean Combs, events that are now tied to serious criminal allegations. And back in 2007, a dormitory matron at Oprah's Leadership Academy in South Africa was charged with abusing 6 students. That happened. When the Weinstein scandal exploded publicly, Oprah delivered a powerful speech and said, "If we make this just about Harvey Weinstein, then we will have lost this moment." On its face, that sounds visionary. Broader accountability, bigger conversation. But zoom out. It also redirects focus. It shifts the spotlight away from her personal history with him. Whether intentional or not, it reframes the narrative. And we've seen this before. When Corey Feldman went on live television trying to expose abuse in Hollywood, trying to name names, Barbara Walters told him on air, "You're damaging an entire industry." That sentence says everything. Protect the institution. Protect the brand. Protect the machine. Not necessarily the victims. And that ties directly back to what Rogan said. Some people get intoxicated by proximity to the powerful. They don't even want the throne. They just want to be invited into the castle. And when you're drunk on access, you stop asking hard questions. Oprah isn't painted here as the mastermind, but she does sit inside a larger pattern. One where power shields power, where influence softens scrutiny, where institutions instinctively defend themselves. And that pattern? It's about to surface again, with another name you definitely recognize. The Tyler Perry allegations. Now let's be clear about this. Tyler Perry has zero confirmed connection to Jeffrey Epstein. None. There's no documented link between them. But in June 2025, an actor named Derek Dixon filed a $260 million lawsuit against Perry. The accusations are serious. Dixon claims Perry made unwanted sexual advances, pinned him against a wall, groped him, and got into his bed without consent. Perry's legal team fired back immediately, calling the lawsuit a scam, a money grab. Important, these allegations have not been proven in court. Perry could be completely innocent. But there's one line from Dixon's filing that sticks. He said, "I convinced myself it was part of the industry, but I couldn't stay silent anymore." That phrase, part of the industry, that's the thread tying everything together. Because powerful systems don't usually survive through obvious force. They survive through normalization, through silence, through convincing people that what's happening to them is just how things work. Don't question it. Don't expose it. That's just how the game is played. That's how Harvey Weinstein operated for decades while whispers floated through Hollywood. That's how Epstein's island reportedly became an open secret in elite circles. Different names, same mechanism. And this same culture, protecting influence, minimizing scandal, showed up again around a film that stirred massive controversy. Sound of Freedom controversy. In 2023, Sound of Freedom hit theaters. The film is based on the real-life story of Tim Ballard, a former Homeland Security agent who conducted undercover operations targeting child trafficking networks. Budget? Around $14.5 million. Box office? Over $250 million. It exploded. Here's how it was framed by supporters at the time. This right here is The Sound of Freedom, a new movie which exposes the sexual trafficking of children. And also it's a movie that's actively being hidden from the American public, because as crazy as it sounds, despite the fact that this movie is for one based on true real-world events, and also despite the fact that it exposes the very real reality that millions of children across the world find themselves in. Well, there are elite forces in both Hollywood as well as the media which have actively been working for the past 5 years to suppress this movie. The public showed up. Opening weekend numbers surprised analysts. It even outperformed Mission, Impossible, Dead Reckoning. Part 1 at the box office during certain periods. Regular people reportedly drove hours to see it. Some bought out entire theaters. Others paid for strangers' tickets. But here's what's less discussed. The film reportedly sat unreleased for about 5 years before finally hitting screens. Major studios didn't pick it up. Once it premiered, several mainstream outlets criticized it heavily, with some labeling it connected to conspiracy culture. The lead actor, Jim Caviezel, pushed back publicly, saying, "Hollywood is scared of this movie. They're quaking in their boots." Why such polarization? Supporters argue the film depicts how trafficking networks allegedly operate. Fake modeling scouts, high-end parties, powerful individuals shielding misconduct, victims isolated and afraid to speak. Critics argue the film's marketing and public narrative blurred lines with broader conspiracy movements. Depending on where you stand, it's either an expose or a lightning rod. Now zoom out. Joe Rogan didn't start this by chasing a movie narrative. He started by finding his own name in a document, one line in 3 million pages. But the deeper he looked, the more questions surfaced. Epstein didn't look like the kingpin at the top of a pyramid. He looked like a connector, a facilitator, a bridge between wealth, access, and leverage. Above him, figures like Les Wexner, who granted him financial authority and access. Names like Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, appearing thousands of times in the documents before resigning from corporate leadership after exposure. Then you have high-profile cultural figures orbiting powerful circles, not charged, not proven guilty, but existing inside the same ecosystem where influence shields scrutiny. Rogan's words summed up his fear. Literally demonic human beings that are running the world and don't give about human lives. This is not a hoax. It looks terrible for Trump when he was saying none of this was real. Why have you protected people? If you're redacting names and they're not victims, what are you doing? And here's the part that fuels ongoing debate. What's still hidden? Reports suggest the DOJ still holds roughly 2 million additional documents that haven't been made public, not even fully available to members of Congress. 3 million pages have already shaken public trust. So the obvious question becomes, what's in the rest? Epstein is dead. That part is undeniable. But the larger conversation about systems, influence, accountability, and transparency is still very much alive. Now I'll throw it to you. Do you think Rogan is onto something when he says Epstein wasn't the top? Or do you believe the truth, messy as it is already unfolding piece by piece? If this breakdown made you pause, even for a second, tap like, subscribe, and stay locked in. Because whether you believe this is the end of the story or just chapter 1, there are still millions of pages the public hasn't seen. And when the next drop happens, we'll be right here talking about it. See you in the next one.